Salams and welcome. Thank you for joining me in part number 6 of we're looking at the spiritual culture in Islam by the roving ambassador of Islam, Mawlana Abdul Aleem Siddiqui al-Qadiri, and my thanks to Sheikh Abdul al-Qadiri, the president of the Imam Ahmad Rida Academy. So we're trying to look now at the understanding of the nature of the soul, because many atheists or agnostics, many philosophers and scientists don't know what is a soul. Because remember, the human body, it's a material body. You can take an X-ray of this, but the soul, you cannot take an X-ray of it. Because they can't see it, and because they can't taste it or touch it, they deny the existence, but they know there's something there, but they cannot put their finger on it, right? So let's see it. One of the distinguished living scientists is Dr. Michael Pupin. He is the president of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, a professor of electromechanics at Columbia University, and an inventor of high standing. In an article which appeared in the American magazine for September 1927, he says, and I quote, "Whatever science is explored, wherever science has explored the universe, it has found it to be a manifestation of a coordinating principle. It leaves us no escape from the conclusion that at the back of everything, there is a definite guiding principle which leads from chaos to cosmos. We are faced with two simple alternatives. We can either believe that cosmos, the beautiful law and order, is simply the result of haphazard happenings, or that it is the result of a definite intelligence. Now, which are you, as an intelligent human being, which option are you going to choose? That is the universe just a haphazard accident, or is there a divine creator, a super intelligent being behind all of this?" And he goes further. He says, "Personally, I choose to believe in the coordination principle, the divine intelligence. Why do I believe in that? Simply because it is simpler, it is more intelligible, it harmonizes with my whole experience. The theory that intelligent beings like ourselves or intelligent processes like the movement of the stars are the outcome of unintelligent, haphazard happenings like chaos is beyond my understanding. And why should I accept such a theory when I observe that evidence of a direct intelligence every single day?" Furthermore, he says, "When you see the stars, each moving on its own pathway, or see seed grow after a definite plan into a tree, or you see a baby develop into a fully grown human, self-directing human individual, can you really conceive of all that taking place as a result of chance, of haphazard happening? Can you really, truly answer that in your soul? Well, I cannot. It seems obvious that there is some direct intelligence behind all things, and not a single discovery that science has made tends in the least to contradict this innate feeling that a definite intelligence is at the back of everything. Indeed, the more deeply science penetrates into the laws of the universe, the more it leads us to a belief in an intelligent divinity." And I fully agree with him there. And this is the words of Professor Dr. Michael Pupin, the president of the American Association for the Advancement of Science. And he gives a beautiful example here that when you see the stars, did it just come by itself? When you see a seed developing into a tree, does it just come by itself? When you see a baby developing into a fully grown human, does it just happen by itself? And if you say it happens by itself, then let me give you a simple example. And this is for our atheists and agnostics to ponder, and even for us as Muslims to ponder over it, and even for Christians to ponder, whoever wants to ponder, and especially for the Gen Z, for the Gen Z youth. Gen Z are so intelligent, but they're so distracted by, social media and games and all of that. Anyway, right. A person who says there's only two options. God exists or not. There's only two options. There's no other options, right? So when an atheist dies, he's either going to say that, okay, there was no God, right? But if he sees that God exists, that atheist is going to be in serious problems, right? So here's what evolution say, or this is what the evolutionists are saying, that the universe is just a chance event, or that life on Earth came because of a chance event. There were just random mutations, random happenings. First, we had a unicellular organism, then we had a multicellular organism, then we had a fish, then we had a lungfish who was living half in the water and half in the land. Then we had like the birds and the reptiles, and then we had some reptiles that were flying, and those reptiles developed wings and they started flying. And then we had other animals that started becoming mammals, and they started giving birth to live creatures. From there, we had elephants, all just by themselves, all randomly. Everything just elephant came by itself, giraffe came by itself, hippopotamus made itself. Then eventually, chimpanzees they made themselves until eventually human beings. Chimpanzee then became a human being, right? We developed from a human because chimpanzee became more and more through evolution, through millions and millions of years. A chimpanzee then became a human being. So we are the children or grandchildren of chimpanzees. That's what they say. Or apes. That's what they say. Apes. The closest ape to us is a chimpanzee. There's a difference between an ape and a monkey. A monkey is something that got a tail. An ape does not have a tail, right? So we use the word ape, it does not have a tail. Chimpanzee does not have a tail, it is an ape. A orangutan does not have a tail, it is an ape. A gorilla does not have a tail, it is an ape, right? So other ones we got a tail, that is called a monkey, right? In simple terms. But if we are saying that human beings came just by random, or an elephant just came by itself, let me ask a simple question. If you need a cup of coffee, does it come by itself? Can you tell the coffee, make yourself? It is impossible. There is no atheist that can tell a cup of coffee, make yourself. If you want coffee, don't you have to make it? If you want to cook your food, don't you have to make it? When you go to the restaurant, don't they have to prepare the food for you? So anything in life, you have to make it. Now, this is an example what evolutionists are giving. I'll give a simple example of what evolution is and what the creator is. So on one hand, we have God. On the other hand, we have evolution. That evolution say everything happens itself. I say, and as this professor say, that there is an intelligent designer. That God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is in control of everything. Evolutionists say, no, there's no God. Everything just happened by itself. So now it's a simple question. When evolutionists say that God does not exist, this is a metaphor. This is an example of what they are saying. They are saying that millions of years ago, a small piece of metal was found in the sand. Just a piece of iron. So you had a small piece of iron. This iron, over many millions of years, it made itself into a what you call nuts and bolts, a screw. Then millions of years later, it made itself into a tire, right? And then millions of years later, it made itself into a steering wheel. And all of this, like say for example, it was in a box, and millions of wind is turning and spinning it. This is all called mutations. Then millions of years later, it made a carburetor. Then millions of years later, it made a radiator just by itself. No one is showing that car how to make a radiator. The car is making itself its own radiator. Then millions of years later, after making a radiator, it made a fan belt. Then millions of years later, it made a gearbox. Then millions of years later, it made a steering wheel. Then millions of years later, it made an air conditioner. Then millions of years later, it made an engine. Then millions of years later, it put oil. It made its own oil. Then millions of years later, it made a boot, right? And millions of years later, it made a windscreen. Then millions of years later, it made its own wipers. And then suddenly one day, it assembled itself until it became a magnificent red Ferrari. It painted itself also, Ferrari. It made itself. Logic and common sense says, how on earth can a red Ferrari make itself? Did it make a carburetor by itself? No. Did it make a gearbox by itself? No. Did it make a steering wheel by itself? No. It's impossible. Yet we want to say that a human being made your own heart. Did you make your own heart? No. We are saying that human beings made their own heart, they made their own brains, they made their own kidneys, they made their own liver, they made their own bones. Then they just, through evolution, through millions of years and mutation, and pressure from the environment, then suddenly a human being came. And not only one human being, one was a man and one was a woman. Hey, imagine. A creator exists. Those who deny the creator, please remember, Re-look at your value systems. Who has put poison in your brain? Is there the slightest, and my question is here to the evolution of the atheist. Here's an atheist. Here's an atheist or an agnostic. Those who doubt, they are not sure. Now, unfortunately, some atheist agnostics feel that no, it's beneath their dignity to think of God. So I'm going to pose this question to our atheists and agnostics. And please remember, I have the highest respect for atheists and agnostics and the Christians and the Hindus for whatever religion you're following. I'm not here to condemn anybody. My duty is just to share the message. So I'm just appealing to atheists, agnostics, Christians, Hindus are wonderful human beings. Good people, kind, many of them intelligent. So I'm asking a simple question. The day you die, you are saying God does not exist, right? Well and good. But there's only two possibilities. There's only two possibilities. Do you agree with me? God, does God exist? One possibility is yes. We as religious people, we say yes, he exists. One possibility is no. Those are the only two possibilities. You agree with me? So far, we agree that the day you die, there's only two possibilities. One, God exists. One, God doesn't exist. Let us say when you die and your energy goes back into the universe. That's what atheist says, that we came from energy and there's balance in the universe. So our molecules and our energy will go back into the universe. So there's balance and harmony with entropy in the universe, right? So let's say when the atheist dies and he does not find God, right? He'll be happy. He'll say, yes, I was right. There's no God. In any case, the atheist doesn't even believe that he'll have any thinking ability. But let's just say the atheist does have thinking ability. And he says, yeah, I know, I was right. Who are these silly religious people? Look, there's no God here. I was right. That's one possibility. What's the other possibility? What if after you die and you're facing God? What will you then do? Because you've got no way of coming back again. Now, your entire life on earth, which is a test, and you got such a superior brain, you got such an intelligent brain, and you did not take the time or the effort to seriously try to understand whether a creator exists or not. And then if your day you die and you find you are standing in front of God, that'll be a terrifying moment for you. You will be on your knees, begging the Creator, because you will see His magnificent genius. You will see His magnificent things, everything is created. Because the day you die, when your eyes close at death, your spiritual eyes will open. This is known as a spiritual X-ray machine, and a spiritual MRI machine, and a spiritual 3D dimension. You will then see everything which your body denied. So all I'm saying, ask yourself the question, is there the slightest possibility that you are mistaken in your understanding? And if there is the slightest possibility, please re-examine your value systems in your thinking, and please get a copy of the Quran, read it, try to understand it. After that, if you still believe that there is no God, then it's fine. But before you make that decision, don't ever come to a conclusion that God does not exist before reading the final divine scripture, which is the Quran. Please to get a copy of the Quran, contact any Muslim or any mosque or any Islamic organization. They will be more than happy to give you a copy of the Quran. Please get a copy and read it, because the Quran will then tell you things that will shake you to your core. Stay well, look after yourself. Alhamdulillah.